Nowadays, game genres have become very specifically defined. First-person shooters, for example, are all free-moving shooting games where you see the gun in front of you and are then split into either arcade shooter or realistic shooter. Real-time strategy are more or less all top-down, base management, clicking on units and clicking where you want them to go, or of course you've got the tactical version like commandos behind enemy lines. This is what we as gamers have come to expect out of our genres. But games do sometimes stray from this familiar path and still fit into one of the actual genres. Flotilla would be one such game. Turn-based strategy games are usually one of three types: RPG strategy, such as Final Fantasy Tactics; hex-based, such as Nectaris or Advanced Wars; or the more economic games like Imperialism. Flotilla, however, fits into none of these subcategories of the turn-based strategy genre, and it's pretty hard to really think of a subgenre to class it in. If anything, it'd probably be qualified as a real-time turn-based strategy. You'll understand. The meat of the game is its combat system. It's where you will spend most of your time, so I do want to start here. Both teams start with their flotilla facing each other. All ships have impenetrable armor on the front and top parts as well as both sides. The only vulnerable areas are the belly and behind of the ships. So the main goal is to get your ships in a position where they can fire directly upon the weak points of the enemy's ships. In order to do this, both teams get to simultaneously plan their moves in 3 phases per ship. Starting with the movement phase, the teams will decide where to move the ship horizontally and vertically. After that comes a rotation round, where they can either rotate the ship manually on each axis, or simply choose which opponent to face. And finally, they pick a priority target, unless of course there's only one enemy, in which case he's obviously the target. Now, there's 2 weapon types in Flotilla. Ships equipped with projectiles need to place themselves in positions to shoot the weak spots, as mentioned before. Beam weapons, on the other hand, have extremely short range, but ignore armor and do massive damage. So essentially, at distance, the projectile ships have the advantage over the beam ships, but beam ships will devastate anything within range, and this is where the strategy really comes in. Also, there's a few asteroids and debris floating around in space, which can be used for cover, but admittedly, they rarely ever felt like they affected the battle much at all. The enemy AI is okay. You most likely will find yourself winning the majority of more balanced matches, but they do provide an okay challenge. Although it does have its stupid moments every now and then where it collides its own ships into each other, giving you an easy victory. It's kind of rare, but it has happened. Truth be told though, I doubt you'll be playing many skirmishes against the computer. So now that you understand the combat of the game, let's move on to the modes. There's 2 ways to play the game: Adventure Mode and Skirmish Mode. Skirmish is just a preset match where you choose your fleet and the enemies, and you can also be played split screen with another player, either versus or cooperatively. The Adventure Mode, however, is the mode you'll probably be spending most of your game time in. Well, the story to Adventure Mode is simple. You are mortally ill and you're going to die. So you go on a grand space adventure to live out your final days alive. You do this by hopping from planet to planet, and with each hop, an event is triggered. These events vary from random excuses to fight to silly side stories with multiple choices. You could run into outlaw pigs, for example, who are being attacked by pirates, and then you're asked if you wish to save them or steal their cargo for yourself. There is a lot, and I do mean a lot, of these subplots, but I don't really want to spoil them for you. Just know one thing: the choices you make have long-term consequences, and many events link with each other. For example, you could choose to destroy a slave ring, even though you do know there's innocent slaves there who will be killed. Many hops later, you get attacked by one of the relatives of one of the slaves who's pissed off at you. Or, if you choose not to attack and instead take a bribe, the space, police, army, whatever they are, will track you down for it. There's 2 difficulty levels for this: the normal and hardcore mode. Hardcore is longer and overall the better mode, as you do get to see the consequences to your decisions flesh out way more. As you play, you do get new ships and upgrades, but anything you lose in battle is lost for good. It's very unforgiving, but it does make you consider your actions much more carefully, and is therefore a lot more rewarding. To be completely honest, at first I was disappointed with this mode, hoping instead to get the more generic space trading, piracy, bounty hunter type gameplay found in most space exploration games, like Freelancer. But after playing hardcore and really seeing the subplots flesh out, I really fell in love with this mode. Perhaps sandbox mode with the more generic gameplay would still be nice, but I really don't have any complaints with this mode. It is worth mentioning that the adventure mode can also be played 2-player co-op. It doesn't really add anything new. There's no new strategies you can work out that wouldn't have worked in single player, considering, it's turn-based and all. But it is fun, especially considering the communication it forces upon you lest you smash your ships together. Player 2 will have to use a controller, which does seem kind of strange for a turn-based strategy game, but in the end it's not that bad once you get used to the controls. You simply need to have a controller if you want to play with a friend. Skirmishing against a friend is great fun. I've only played it once, admittedly, and I did get my ass handed to me after making a stupid mistake in the first round, but I definitely did have fun. I do want to try again, and have a rematch to regain my honor. It is a shame that there's no online multiplayer, but it's not that big a deal considering the price. I do imagine this game costing quite a bit more if it did have online, so for what you paid for, this is really good. One thing I wanted to make a point to include into this review is that the game can be rather strange, and has many just because aspects. What I mean by this is, well, the music, for example. You expect a space combat game, turn-based or not, to either have epic battle music or isolated, lonely music that kind of symbolizes the bigness of space. Instead, you get this. Why? Just because. Also, almost everyone you meet in the game is an animal. Chicken pirates, outlaw pigs, koala bandits. Why? Just because. I think you get the picture. Admittedly, I can't really decide if this is good or bad. It certainly gives the game character, but it kind of makes it harder to really get involved. So I'll let you decide. In the end, I'd say this was a very worthy purchase. It's cheap and it's fun. It has a ton of replay value and a high score list, even if I have no idea how scores are calculated. The multiplayer, despite being local only, is great fun and highly suggested. And overall, I enjoyed this game very much and felt I got the money's worth. Plus, at time of reviewing, I was number 50 on the high score list.